Apparently I'm live, so here we go. Welcome to Virtual Collage Jam for February 26th, 2024. And I was just thinking, because of course I have to pause to figure out what year it is. Ever since the pandemic. What the heck year is it? And I was just thinking, it's not only maybe a month or two till I think that makes it our 4th anniversary. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Anyway, here in Brampton, in the northwest corner of the Greater Toronto area, it is sunny and warm. It's unseasonably so. We've had a pretty unseasonably warm winter. Yeah, so if you are in the GTA and you're actually staying in to join us for collaging, then thank you, because I know if I didn't have to be doing my collage jam, I know where I'd be, out there. So yeah, so welcome aboard. I've already said that, I know. Kim is going to drop by hopefully at the end of the session. She stayed up very late. Our friend Elaine Whitaker, who's a member of Redhead and Kim's an associate member there, is doing yet another one of her amazing thought-provoking shows. I'm not sure when it is, but it's this spring. And so Kim is helping her out with some digital collage work. So, which is fun because Elaine and I had a few chats in, when was that? In December, about how to go about some collaging. And I was saying, probably these are things that would be better done digitally, but you could do mock-ups this way, etc. So, she employed Kim to help her with the digital aspects. And so things are looking promising. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. What else can I tell you? Don't forget that I am the juror for, let me just get that in front of me because I will forget otherwise. Where is it? For a collage show that is happening in my friend Holly's little tiny gallery, miniature gallery. So artworks in 2D and 3D up to 6 by 6 inches will be considered, and that you submit collage or works that contain clear elements of collage for the show Jumble, celebrating World Collage Day 2024. And the deadline to apply is April 13th. I think in the previous collage jam or the one prior to this one, I put the details. I will, after this jam, I'll put them in this one as well. So you can see if you would like to submit to that. It should be fun. Holly's has made a miniature 3-dimensional gallery with people in it and everything. And the works can be up to 6 inches. So and that would be a very big work, I think, in her little gallery. So hello, Irina, welcome aboard. Nice to have you here. And what else? Also coming up is my, not for a little while yet, but in April, I will be returning to the Artist Project in Toronto and taking some more enlarged collages. So looking forward to doing that. I have to get that happening. It's I've had a lot of other irons in the fire to do with In Situ Arts Festival, which will be happening in mid-March in Mississauga. My wife's got some stuff there. She's going to have a room there. Kim is going to have a room at In Situ, and we are both doing some teaching outreach. I am helping some grade 9 students at Cawthra Park, coming up with ideas around modifying umbrellas. So there's going to be a huge installation of 90 or so, I would guess, umbrellas. They're about 90 students because there are 3 grade 9 classes, each about 30 kids. So maybe not quite that many, but it's quite a few. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I'm also doing some of the design work for it. So So my head is spinning a little bit. So yeah. Hey Annie, welcome aboard. Annie says, "Hi Cal, I'm staying in too, doing homework for your class." Sorry, Annie. Hey Jane, nice to have you back. How are you? And Judy, great to have you here too. Awesome. Yay. so so our prompt this week is lost and found. I figured I knew I had a really busy spring coming up, so I tried to come up with all the visuals for our live streams a while ago, and I thought, oh, I have a great idea for Lost and Found. It'll be like a pile of collage junk, and on one half the tools will be visible, and on the other half the tools won't be visible. And then when I looked at it, I thought, it just looks like a mess. But I just thought I've spent enough time on setting it up and photographing it that I'm just going to go with it. So one of the things about doing multiple events is that, or a repeating event like this, is sometimes it's a good visual idea, and sometimes it isn't. Right? Just like any artistic process. So yeah. Hey Kathleen. Hey, great to have you along. And Val is with us too. Hey Val. So Lost and Found. I'm going to be a little bit predictable for myself this way, because I'm going to play with some decollaging, because that is definitely Lost and Found. And I have. So what I will often do when I teach a decollage class, or when I'm preparing for myself, I will make a bunch of collage lasagnas, and these are a whole bunch that I haven't actually done anything with yet. So what do I mean by that? They're all like this, just different images on top, but they're basically one image with several layers of. It's not showing very well in this one. I'll pick a different one as an example. This is a better example, I think. So you can see there, maybe you can see it, hopefully. There, how about that? It's 10 or 15 layers of collage materials, lightly glued one on top of the other. And I pick a whole bunch of different kinds of things, but by the time I'm gluing the top one on, I can't remember what's underneath. And oftentimes I don't get back to these for weeks or months. So then I really, really have no clue what I put in there. So it has been lost, and some of it will be found when I dig and cut and tear into it. So, so that's my approach to Lost and Found for today. And what are you guys thinking? Of course, the prompt is always optional, as I will remind you. Prompts are there to be used as a starting point if it works for you. If it's like, I have another idea and it's more interesting, do that, right? Like, the prompt is there, like, if it gets your mind going. And oftentimes it's enough, like the prompt gets my mind going, and then I will go off in a different direction because it's got my mind going. But if I hadn't looked at the prompt and and given it some thought and then moved on from there, I wouldn't have come up with something. And that's great, right? If it's just gets you started, that's all it needs to do. So so let us know in the comments, and if you're going to use the prompt, and if you have any ideas around it. And I will, while you do that, I will switch the camera to the overhead and switch to my close-up glasses so I don't go blind, and get cutting and tearing and trying to find what I've lost in these layers of collages. So I'm going black for just a minute or two while I switch the camera. Do not adjust your set. It's all good. Well, I just figure it's better than having it go crazy while I'm moving it. And hopefully that puts us more or less on my desk. All right, there we go. So choose which ones I'm going to play with. Irina says, today I don't have an idea yet, so I'll be working on other collages. That's totally fine, Irina. Excellent. And Val says, not sure what I'm doing. I think my brain is tired from Februarage. Yes, you're in the home stretch though, right? But this year's Februarage is a day longer than usual, right? So, but what are we, the 26th? So you'll be done later this week. So that's good. How have you found it, Val? I mean, other than tiring, have you found it also invigorating and so on? I hope, because I mean, if you didn't, then it'd be kind of sad, but sometimes that's the case. So I have, I don't know, more than half a dozen here. And some of them have like large faces on top. These two do. A couple of figures. And this one has a split face, sort of a male-female, and a bit scale difference. And I'm not sure, I might come up with one of those or move to one of those. This one just has a stone wall on the front. And for some reason, that seems interesting to me. So I'm going to start with that and then see where we go. And I don't know, maybe I'll tear some of them and maybe I will cut some, as you would expect. So I'm just going to get started and see what happens. I'm going to start by cutting one of these pieces of stone out and seeing what's under the rock, what I find. And that's kind of fun because it sort of came up imperfectly, and that's always nice for me, I think. So, So do I keep cutting, or do I tear some, or do I do some of each? We'll see. It's kind of fun when you sort of abide by cutting is sort of expected, right? It'll match the shapes of what's been cut out, but the tearing, like this torn edge here, is also interesting, and there's a connection there. So, so maybe I will see about. And do I intertwine them? All right, I'm in danger of thinking too much, so I'm just gonna stop thinking too much. I think I'm just gonna cut a few, and then I'm gonna do a little tearing as well, and then just see from where we go from there. Because you know, I've been a visual professional in one capacity or another for quite a while. Graphic design, and then art instruction and artist. So, and I know that sometimes I get sort of caught up in my own ideas so much that things they become too controlled. So I'm going to attempt not to overthink and just start cutting out some shapes. And I will probably introduce at least some tearing as well. But I do know that the less I think sometimes, or that overthinking is a danger for me. So I'm just going to get going and just see what happens. I just had the thought of like, oh, what would happen if in some places I cut the rocks out and in some places I cut the cracks out? That'd be kind of fun. So, maybe I'll link this one up and it'll become yeah, I think there's going to be something fun about cutting out cracks because that's kind of less expected. So it'll be like getting these little glimpses between the rocks of something else. watch that be kind of like the idea I wish I had started with, but you have to start somewhere. Who knows? It may not work out at all. All creativity is a risk. And unlike many other kinds of endeavor, ultimately the risk in most art forms is pretty low. Like, of course, there are ways in which you could you could lose a fortune, or you could, like, if you're doing some kind of crazy high risk athletic art performance or something, then it could be dangerous physically. But mostly the thing we're afraid of is sort of it not working, or people saying it's silly or whatever. And really, that's not a reason to to even worry about it, right? So I give you permission to take some artistic risks and see what happens. But it is true that we do worry about stuff like that a lot. What people will think. Like, I wish that was so much less the case than it is, right? Oh, what if it doesn't work, or if it doesn't look like what I hoped it would look like? What will people say? Well, you don't have to show it to people. Or or will I disappoint myself? Or and we can be very judgmental of our own work, right? So try as best you can not to be, and to make mistakes and learn from them, and make discoveries and learn from them. I'll come and check on your comments in a minute or two. Just going to cut a few more crack pieces out. So, does anyone have any exhibitions or anything exciting going on in their art world that we should know about? Let us know in the comments. Maybe you've got a show, or maybe you've entering a piece into a juried show, or you've got a new body of work cooking that you're excited about. As I was driving home today, this morning or this afternoon, I was thinking about the idea of like designing with collage, making fabric designs or that might be usable in for clothing or so on, and thinking, oh, that'd be interesting. Come up with things that were both cohesive enough and sort of pattern enough, but also had a collage feel. So I got excited about that idea. So we'll see where that goes. Nowhere right away, just because I've got to get my artist project stuff together. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to sort of exploring that in future. What else is one? The artist project is definitely my next big artistic thing. So going to be showing some more decollage work and lots again, more fashion-oriented stuff and lots and enlargements, at least as large as I did before, and maybe larger. We'll see. That's as far as I've got. So I obviously need to give it a little more thought. The next few days, I'm going to take the collages I do have finished right now, which are maybe 20 or so, to get photographed, and try and finish up a couple more. And I guess I need to give some thought as to like, oh, okay, how big shall I enlarge these? How many should I get enlarged? Yeah, so that's going to be, I have to figure out, I guess, because I still have pieces that I took to the artist project last year in frames, so maybe I will take them out of frames. I think I should take new work for the most part. I don't know whether I can could or should take more than one or two pieces that were there last year, so probably should be mostly new work. So all right, so comments. So Jane says, before I realized today's theme, I recently did lost pieces but found again on old painted canvas. I'll post later. Oh, perfect, Jane. That's awesome. I've got a broken foot. Oh no. So I've been collaging lately. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Jane, because that sucks. And as you know, Kim knows all too well about that. So our sympathies to you, and thank goodness for creative pursuits, right? Because yeah, it's going to help the time go by while your bones knit to have some collage action on the desk while you're sitting there, right? So are you in a boot, Jane? Usually that's what they do these days, right? Hopefully you didn't have to, hopefully it wasn't displaced and you didn't need pins or screws. I hope not. So Val says, I love it. Fibrillage inspires me to work. Yeah, absolutely. Like you got a daily, there's no moss growing on you, right? You've got a daily prompt, not a every couple of weeks prompt like this. You got one every day. So Jane says, I literally have envelopes everywhere, bits and pieces from other collages or whatever, creating abstracts from these various cut-ups. Absolutely. Those were sort of lost from previous and found to be going into new collages. So Annie says, I am also behind on fibrillage, so maybe I will create a few. Yeah, perfect. Use this as a catch-up time. Yeah. Oh, Irina, I'm so glad. Irina says she submitted 2 pieces to Jumble. That's awesome. Jane says, your collages that you're getting enlarged for the show, how big are they? So last year, the ones I enlarged were 30 by 40 inches. So, and some of them were sort of crops of, and so they went right out to the edges, and some came in from the edges a little bit. And that seemed a good size. Like it's a good size for someone's wall, I think. But I would like to try maybe even 1 or 2 even bigger ones. I may even do something like just for impact, like something that isn't framed, but that just gets put up on the wall and then put framed works that people can buy, but something that is like really big. I think that'd be very cool to have something that was like 8 feet tall. Of course, we'll see how expensive that is, right? So, hey, Anne. Got to figure out where I can need to wave. There we go. Nice to have you back, Anne. That's awesome. Jane says, yes, in a boot, simple fracture. Ligaments probably will take longer. Right. Yeah. So, so the originals were 9 by 12, or something very close to that, because I'm working with magazines for the most part. I mean, I put other things in, like this is scrapbook paper, and I'll sometimes put like painted things, but generally speaking, the magazines are somewhere around 9 by 12. So that's the size it is. And this is the thing that I love about that is this is a size I feel works really well for me for the most part. Um, before Kim suggested the scanning really high res and enlarging them, I was like, okay, well, how can I do a big collage? Because these collages are, I think they're good, but they're small, right? And it's nice to have something big with impact. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I could like scan individual pages of magazines or scrapbook patterns. Like this is from scrapbook paper pad, and then collage with those and make bigger collages. But then I need more space, and a collage that doesn't work out that's this size is pretty easy to store, right? Or I don't. Eventually, I will probably pitch ones that don't work, but I don't do that right away because you never know, you might come back to it. But I can do a lot of small collages, right, and have reasonable storage space. Whereas if I'm doing them that a few feet in each direction, which is kind of the scale I want them to be for presentation, then you've got it's each time you've done a collage, it's a storage issue. Now, of course, once they're printed and in a frame, I have storage issues too, right? So it doesn't completely get around it, but I think what it really boils down to for me, and everyone's different. For me, though, working this size is really comfortable. I wouldn't say that I won't try working larger anyway, because it will change and it might be really interesting. But for the moment, I kind of feel like this is a good size. For instance, if in future we move somewhere where we have more space to work in, like I am working in my studio is a relatively small bedroom in our house. And it's got a lot of stuff in it already. So there's not a lot of like work on something big, carry it in, step back from it, that kind of thing. But if we end up in a large space where we have larger space, or I do like a residency somewhere where there's more space to work with, I think that'd be a great time. Those are great circumstances in which to try something larger, right? So, and I may still try it even here. But for right now, this works for me. One thing it does use is a lot more hard disk space because the digital files are quite large. So if you're scanning something at high resolution, that it can be printed at those kind of sizes, yeah, it starts using up your hard disk space. But I mean, that's similar in many respects to our graphic design career anyway. So we were used to having to manage digital storage, right? So it's not really that big a deal. Jane, I know you were getting something scanned and printed out large to send to New York at some point. You were asking me about that. How did that turn out? Did you do it? Did you send it? Did they like it? Did the place you took it to eventually do a good job for you? Let me know. It's interesting having little bits show through in the cracks, because a bunch of what's showing through is light colored. Not all of it, but a bunch of it is light. And in between the cracks is somewhere where you expect there to be dark. So it's already got a little surprise to it, which is fun. So, maybe what I'm going to try is just thinking about like, okay, so do I continue going with cutting through the crack? I think what I'll do is cut through the cracks in sort of one particular area and then cut rocks out up here and then see where we go from there. So, and I might dig a little deeper down. I think that most of the time I'm going only 1 or 2 layers down, but it might be interesting to see what's further down. So, yeah. Have coffee, will collage. Maybe do a little bit more this way. And I think maybe more in the other direction, but sort of stop short of the edges for now. And then see how that works. And I'll check in on comments in a minute or two. Sorry to go silent on you there. I just focusing on my cuts. Try and get a little more light on my work for my cutting, but I also know it sometimes washes out for you guys. So let's try and get some sort of balance there. Must be fun and interesting to make these kinds of stone walls where you have to sort of find things to fit together so that it works well. I know in where I teach, and I know some of you guys have taken courses up at Halliburton School of the Arts, they have like a dry, I forget what the exact term is. It's something like dry stone wall making, which I think is what this is actually, because there isn't mortar in it that I can see. Um, so um, so it all relies on balance and fit. Um, so I haven't taken that because I'm usually teaching my own course, but that would be something I'd be interested to. Bet it would be quite interesting and satisfying and absorbing to sort of like have a big pile of rocks and have to figure out, okay, well, this is what I'm trying to do, and what suits what. Finding the right piece for the right kit to get things together. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. So Irina says, I'm trying your decollage technique for the first time. The glue has to be dry first, right? I think it's better. I feel it's better, and I glue them sort of lightly to each other, not super stuck down. When it's wet, I do find some people try and do it before the glue dries, and I usually do it after the glue dries. When you do it the way I do, sometimes pieces will fall out that you wish didn't, so you have to sort of glue them back in. But when they're wet, sometimes you'll get these, it's harder to cut and they won't. So you know what I would recommend, Irina, is try it both ways. Try one right after you glue it up and see whether it works, or try another one where you let it dry and see what you like better. They both have advantages. So hey Philippa, she says, hi Cal, I'm here now. Couldn't resist going for a walk beforehand. Absolutely. I was just saying off the top, Philippa, that I was honored by anyone who was coming to spend time indoors collaging instead of being out in that beautiful day. So yeah, I don't blame you at all. And Jane says, I did it. Yes, it was a movie poster size. Can't remember the exact size. Sold to upstairs neighbor in New York, flat to be hung in his apartment. Awesome. Looked so good. I got a 22.5-inch by 29-inch 1/2 in a black frame. Awesome. That sounds great. Hey Mia, it's been so long. How are you? She says, how do you get to the Februarage prompts? I see the posts, but not a link to the daily prompt. So if you Google Februarage, you can find it. If you're on Instagram, Mia, I'm not sure you are, but if you are, you can also just search for Februarage prompts. I think I just found them on Instagram, but I think they are also listed online. I forget the name of the organized. Yeah, just Google Februarage 2024, and you will find them. So Jane says, I got it done. So about her collage enlargement, I got it done at a place called Art Frame Print across from Cheese Boutique on Ripley Avenue. Zeljko Gojic, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, did a fine job. Mine is such nice paper, such nice paper, glass not necessary. Awesome. And Irina says, okay, good. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh, it's gone. Oh, well. It'll come back to me or it won't. And either way is fine. Get back to my rock wall here. sometimes taking some liberties where it's not so much a hole as just a darkened area of the stone near the crack, but I'm going to use those so I can have some bigger areas that show things through. I think one of the things that's interesting about this is when you have like really thin little peaks, like the one I'm peeling up now, and sort of, you know, not huge, but bigger chunks. The one at the end here. So that one's only coming out white, at least at the moment. Maybe we'll find something else in the lower layer. Something I do when I'm cutting out things like rock or cracks or anything that sort of has a bit of an irregular edge to it, is like hair, for instance, is another example, like frizzy or kinky hair, or like a textured sweater or anything like that. I will sometimes not so much follow the edge that I'm seeing well, I'll follow it in general terms, but I'll just wiggle my knife a little bit as I go along anyway. And what that does is it even though I'm not seeing every little and following every little change, it will make the edge feel right for what I'm cutting out. And so I just realized, oh, that's something I'm doing here. And not everyone would necessarily think to do that. So I thought I might mention that. Because then it looks like I'm more accurate than I actually than I'm actually worrying about. And I remember actually doing that when I was tracing things like a coastline for a map in geography class many years ago. And I would just do that because it seemed like it made it look more authentic, right? Than if I just did straight or very regular curves, or it just looks like it's more authentic if it's, oh, got every little nook and cranny of that coastline. Well, no, but I made it look like I did. And that's kind of like, it isn't exactly that if it's Hudson's Bay or something like that, it still looks like Hudson's Bay, but the coast probably didn't have all those exact little bumps and so on in it, but it looked good. It looked convincing. there's a literal truth, and then there's a truth that is maybe not literal, but um, maybe these rocks have different edges than the ones I've cut, but I'm still speaking of a rough edge, right? Which I think is something that is a truth about most rocks, right? I mean, obviously you get some that are well worn and super smooth and so on. So in that case, if that's important, then even if they had little bumps, you might cut them more smoothly, like rocks that are on a beach and have been really, really rounded and smoothed by tidal action and so on. So that's a case where you might make them smoother than they actually were to get at a truth. So. All right, so I've done a bunch of the cracks. I'm going to do one or two more. And then I'm going to cut some rocks out up there and then see where we go from there. Maybe I'll tear a few things too. All right, so okay, so it got itself sorted out, did it, Jane? Sorry about that. Computer had you running twice. Oh, right. Yeah, so you had me in an echo chamber for a little while. I'm glad that's solved. Mia says, I'll do more searching, Cal, here. Febrillage is an annual prompt-a-day open submission collage project set up by the Edinburgh Collage Collective and the Scandinavian Collage Museum. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so sometimes the memory sort of works. I just didn't remember the Scandinavian Collage Museum. But thank you for checking that, Mia. That's great. And it's kind of like Inktober, but for February. And for collage, not drawing, not ink drawing. I think in Inktober, I had a prompt that played with that too, right? So that we could mix collage and ink drawing, because why should the drawers get all the fun and not let us collagers in, right? we can wield a pen too. Although I do think the X-Acto is mightier than the pen. Well, no, not really. I don't actually believe one's better or worse than the other, but for me, I'm very partial to the X-Acto. Let's put it that way. This is where we could use some of Kim's color commentary. But as I mentioned, she was up pretty late. She's a night owl compared to me. And so working on that project for Elaine. So how many of, just out of curiosity, I know some of you guys went to In Situ in previous years, and the last time it was run, it was a virtual event because of COVID. So this year, and it's changed time of year. I think it was in the fall and in the winter previously, but this time it's we're in the spring. Um, and let us know if you were there before and if you're planning on going this year. It is an amazing event. I think they're charging $10 this time, which is, they wanted it to be free, but $10 is a bargain. And it is 4 nights. I'm just gonna have to check my calendar, so which nights they are. But so the oh, it's 3 nights. Okay, so it's 3 nights: Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, March 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and it's at the Small Arms Building in Mississauga. And it has, it's going to have visual art, installation art, contemporary dance. I think is music and probably spoken word poetry. And there are probably other things as well. And there will be work by students, college students, high school students, but also plenty of professional artists. And it's in the evening in a factory, which is really cool. There will be, I think there are concessions as well, so you can get things to eat and drink. And it's just an amazing event. You can wander around and discover things, and have things happen around you. Like, I know a bunch of the performing artists. In years past, there was like a dance performance that sort of happened in different places, different rooms and different buildings at different times, and then it sort of all flowed back to one of the big spaces for the finale. But you could like walk along and follow the storyline and follow the and then there were also other performers who were just going around doing little ad lib performances, anywhere and everywhere. So it's an extraordinary experience. And Kim and I are good friends with the family that is the sort of the driving force behind it. And they're all creative. They're all really interested in making making it as inclusive as possible for as many different disciplines, as many different levels of ability. It's special. So I would highly recommend, if you can go, to go. You know, it's always a big undertaking, and oh my God, I don't know how they do it, because they have so many more balls to juggle than just a participant like Kim and I are. But yeah, it's a massive undertaking, and they do a great job of it. So so definitely recommend checking that out. And we will publicize about it. But if you just Google In Situ 2024, you will find out about it. And it's all going to be themed around the Lost Museum, which is an idea of that this place, magical place, where things that get lost or abandoned or or show up. So like anything that you have lost time, lost socks, lost anything, is collected in this otherworldly place called the Lost Museum. So and lots of artists sort of playing with that idea. So definitely worth checking out. And so the family is Heather Snell is is the mother. She is the creative director. Her husband, Ken, is a retired architect and architecture instructor, so he's used to working with students. They have 2 daughters, Noelle, who is like a very high-level visual artist, and Colleen, who has her own dance company. And then that extends out. But they're like this cultural powerhouse of a family. So, and just the most wonderful people too. So they're the reason it happens, because they come up with the ideas. They work on so many things, on so many levels, in so many ways. The energy that they have is crazy, and we get to benefit from their their largesse that way. All right, so I've cut out a whole bunch of the cracks. So the cool thing is that you only get little glimpses. And maybe the downside is you only get little glimpses. So I'm thinking little glimpses down here, and then maybe bigger glimpses up here, and I may change the orientation anyway. And having done that, at least partway, I'll see whether that is interesting enough or not. It's been really interesting and fun talking with the students at Cawthra Park about their projects. It's a real treat because Cawthra Park is an arts high school, so they have a lot is expected of them. So they have higher standards than the average high school art classes. So the level of thinking by these guys is really good. And so it was really fun having these interesting conversations with them about what they were thinking and how they were going to do it. And yeah, so that's been a real treat for me. So, and Kim has been working with Humber College students, and I know they have come up with, she's been doing an altered books project, and a bunch of those will be exhibited at In Situ. And so some of those kids, I say kids advisedly, they're young adults, have come up with amazing things. Like, I haven't seen them. I've heard Kim's telling me about them when she gets back from the classes. She's been a sort of visiting artist. And they are amazing. So I really look forward to seeing those too. So, all right. So now that I'm taking up bigger chunks, I'm seeing bigger bits of images, which is kind of fun. It's a case of like, oh, how many do I want to see? Well, I can always remove more layers so that I only get parts of these images. But there is obviously there's some sort of a fashion image underneath there. And this one went further than that, so that's good, actually. Okay, so well, we'll just see what as we go, how it goes. As I start to take more of these pieces out, in this case, in sort of taking the rocks out rather than the cracks out, I'm enjoying the sort of play back and forth between just little tiny gaps and bigger gaps up here. We'll see how it works when I get further along. do I take out all the pieces or do I leave some of the rocks in? I think I have to leave some of the rocks in or it will just fall apart. Well, I can glue them back in, but so maybe I'll take this big one out and leave some of the small ones in between. So Mia says, Cal, I've made 117 art therapy collages last year. Wow. You are amazing, Mia. That's amazing. I love it. She says, you and Kim were the greatest inspiration on not giving up. Oh, I'm so glad, Mia. And 117 is an impressive number, I have to say. And she says, feeling grateful and sending blessings to everyone. I see the February collages prompts now. Excellent. Today is favorite. Awesome. That makes me so happy, Mia. I'm really glad to hear that. That's, you know, that's what we hoped for when we started to do this, is that it would support people in being creative. And, you know, there's no right or wrong number. If you like to do a small number of pieces of artwork, if you love to do a lot of pieces of artwork, everything is good. But it is true that the more time you spend at it, the better you get, right? So, and of course you can decide that you're going to spend hours and weeks and days and years on big, really big, ambitious projects, or you can do lots of little ones, or you can do anything in between, and vary it as well. But 117 by any measure is impressive. Mia, are they linked in any way? Is there like is there some sort of a theme running through them, or did you? Because I'm just thinking that might be the basis for having a show at your local gallery, if you were so inclined. You don't have to, but because of course sometimes that's not the only reason we make work, right? But you know, someone might be interested in showing such an outpouring, especially if there's a way in which they can understand what they're about. One of the things that I love about Day Collage is I get to pick between things that were underneath. So this is the image that was immediately underneath, which we see parts of here. But I could pulled out 3 or 4 different layers now, and I could decide, oh, well, maybe I want that piece, which was one of the other layers, or maybe I want to go down to this textured paper And I love that. I love being able to have those options. And so sometimes I will work this way and glue things back in. So I'll often keep like a little stash of things that I might want to put back in up here. And sometimes I'll flip it over because that's the way it came out. But that M there is kind of interesting too. So that could like find its way back in too. So we'll see. We shall see. All right, go a little further and see what I can find. It's an interesting question because of which ones to take out, because I want to leave some in, and some of them I may take out to dig deeper. And I like to reveal things, but not everything. I don't want it to be so so predictable that it's like, oh, okay, so we're just seeing that one woman through the gaps in the rock. I'm totally fine with having glimpses of her, because that is interesting when there's enough to sort of know that you're seeing glimpses of her. But if it's just like a whole ton of them and it's just her and the rocks, then it's maybe not interesting enough. It's more interesting artistically to me if it's an interplay of that and other things. So and I don't know what it's kind of got a blue cast and I see bits of hair. But this little image that's showing up in a couple of spots is also quite intriguing. So I'm going to keep those as options. Well, that's fun because that is a bit of someone who looks similar, but is a different scale and a different angle. So that may find its way back in too. These are the reasons I love working like this, because it gives me surprises that it's that discovery, that found of the things that I've lost, right? So how have your collages been going, guys? I'm here yakking about mine because that is my role. But I'd be curious to know how yours have been working out. Something that's cool about these pieces that I'm cutting out at the edge is that I can see this top one covers most of my layers below. I can see some of the layers over on this side at the edge, but now that I've cut these pieces out, I can see some of the layers peeking below, peeking out from below. And so that's fun. I have a little integrity issue there. It's sort of coming apart at the seams a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. I'm trying to do cutouts of stone that are sometimes big, sometimes really small, some not regular in any, not too regular. Sometimes right beside each other with just the mortar left, sometimes with a gap between them. And this irregular wall is good for that, because if this were like a brick wall where all the bricks were sort of very predictable, then it would be harder, depending on how many bricks there were. If it was a close-up, it would be harder to make it less unpredictable. But these unpredictable sized rocks makes it easier, I think, to cut out interesting pieces and leave interesting different gaps, sometimes skinny ones, sometimes big gaps. So one thought that I have here, just looking at what's happening, is, oh, maybe I should have like a band where most of the rocks are taken out, like along here, and then the occasional little one that goes up and down from that, like there and there. Or should I take it further out? I am not sure. I'm going to go with that idea for now, and then see whether I go further. And I won't take them all out. I'll take some more out over here. That's sort of in that band. I sometimes try to sort of hedge my bets and come up with ideas that, like, okay, well, I'll get this far first and then see how that looks, and I'll know then whether I need to go further or not. And that's sort of the basis on which I'm going to work now, is take out a few more in this sort of band that is more or less at her head or eye level. And then we'll see if that looks good. And it may be that that will be enough. It may be that it needs a lot more. One thing that's a little bit tricky with this is when I want to leave the mortar and cut out the rocks that I don't, it ends up with these very skinny little pieces of paper that were the mortar, so I have to be careful not to utterly destroy them. So tonight, because I want to take some of my day collages in to get photographed, I'm hoping tomorrow on the agenda for tonight is looking at them and deciding whether they're done or whether I need to do any last little bits. And if I'm not sure, I'll just hold on to one or a few of them but I will also have to like glue down a whole bunch of things, because I have a bunch of day collages where I'm thinking, okay, that's done, or it's almost done, but these pieces are just like waiting to fall off because they're so tenuous. They have only a tiny little bit of paper or glue holding them together, and I need to glue them down so that they don't fall apart while the photographer is actually shooting them. because that's not fair to them. If it's me doing it, it's one thing, right? It's like, oh, damn, it fell apart. I need to fix it. I'll just go fix it right now. But for them, they shouldn't have to deal with that. Here's something that might be kind of fun. I was thinking, should I peel up this layer? I think maybe what I might do is leave the water and cut out her shoulder so it's still in the shape of her shoulder, but it isn't actually her. So I might do, yeah, so I think I'm gonna cut some more pieces out, reveal more of her, but then take some of her out so that in her shape, so that it still looks like her, but isn't actually her photograph. It's made up of something else. So we'll see about that. All right, what are you guys saying over here? Oh, lots of things. Okay, I have to get caught up here. So Irina says, decollage seemed simple at first, but it takes concentration and a bit more interesting pictures underneath. Yeah, and as you work on it, you sort of get an idea for, like, hardly anyone does their first piece of any kind of art and is like, wow, this is great. It's usually like you start to see, oh, this is interesting, and now this isn't working out, but I think it's because of these, and you come up with things that you know will work better. So when I'm making my gluing sheet after sheet, I do try and vary things. So sometimes they're an image, sometimes they're a pattern, sometimes they're light, sometimes they're dark, sometimes they're a strong color. But sometimes I'll also think, oh, well, maybe for this one, I'm going to try a whole bunch of more subtle things, or for this thing, I'm going to try just black and white things. And those will dictate what the decollage looks like after the fact as well. And I'm just reaching over here, if I can find it. Hopefully I can. Like, this was one that I decided I'm not going to get photographed because I don't think it came out quite well enough. But this is an example of a decollage where it's got several different kinds of images and graphic things, but they were all black and white. And I thought, oh, well, that would be an interesting basis. I don't think it worked out, but I don't think it's because it was black and white. But I could choose to have a limited palette, or I could choose to have lots of garish colors that, or things that I just find and discover in interesting ways. So Val says, I finished Collage, not lost and found, but I like it. That's, hey, that's mission accomplished, right? You got started, you made a collage, and and it went in an interesting direction. Hey, Brian, how are you? Brian's joined us. He says, hello, everybody. Hi, Kal, Kim, just checking in, watching the rest of the live today. Awesome. Yeah, so we're playing with Lost and Found. I'm doing some decollage because that is definitely lost and found. So seeing what I'm finding under this brick wall. Not brick wall, stone, dry stack stone wall. And Mia says of the hundreds, about the 117 collages, she says, I will try and make a lost and found collage 118 of 900. 900. I will try to post on our virtual Collage Jam Facebook page. Loving your cutout so far. Thank you. Yes, I did glue the under pages first. Oh, and Mia said something earlier that I missed. And she said, Kal, I took a course, Collage for Self-Discovery, to make 90 intuitive art collages for healing. I did not think I could even make one collage at the beginning. I'm going to make 900 now. Oh, you know, I actually think that art is one of the best healing things, because for so many reasons. It's personal expression. It is a vacation from your troubles, whatever they may be. if they're great or small, or, you know, I notice that whenever it doesn't take me very long to get hands on before my breathing regulates, my mind quiets down and becomes absorbed with what I'm doing. And suddenly 2 hours have gone by, and like in what felt like no time, because I was just so completely absorbed. And that, I think, is a great gift, and I think it's great for healing. So I'm really glad to hear of that, and I'm in awe of your ambition for 900 pieces, but that is so impressive. Um, she'll said she'll try and post on Virtual Collage Jam. That's awesome. Philippa says, I've been adding papers onto a painting I did last week, doing it tentatively, not gluing at the moment. Yeah, that's awesome, because that's another thing I love about collage, is that you can lay something on and move them around and think about them, leave them there, come back, see what you think, and then glue it down when you're ready. It'll That's just a freedom that other media have trouble matching, right? Because you paint something and it's painted, right? It's down. You can paint over it. Yes, you can wait till it's dry and paint over it. But collage, you can just like shove it over a little bit, move it up, move it down, cut it a little smaller. What do you think? Try that. Try to compare two different things back and forth. Is it better with this on it, or is it better with that on it? I like it better with that on it. Okay. So yeah, there are all these great ways of working with collage. Um, Jane says, Cal, do you use a special photographer who just takes photos of art? So I swear by a place in Oakville, run by a Korean guy named Hee, Art Studio Printing. He, no pun, he he does my printing and framing. And last year I scanned my collages, and then I asked him, could you like photograph them? And he said, oh yeah, we do that. We photograph artworks. And so I'm going to have him photograph them, because I think it'll be better than scanning, because scanning has some issues, especially when things are thick, many layers, because whatever is pressed up against the glass is usually in focus. But if it's even just a millimeter or two away from the glass, it isn't out of focus, whereas cameras have a little deeper depth of field. So I'm going to try, and presuming that they look okay, I think I'm going to switch to that. But yeah, he literally is my go-to guy. He's amazing. Philippa says, what are you doing? Looks very cool, Cal. Oh, thanks, Philippa. I am doing a day collage with cutting out. This was several layers of different images and so on that I made months ago, so I have no clue what's in there. So that's why I figured it would work well for Lost and Found. It was lost a while ago, and now I'm finding it. And so I'm just cutting out either in the gaps or the rocks of this top image from a scrapbook paper thing, and revealing some images and textures below. So yeah. Hey, Peggy. So Peggy says, hi, Cal, just enjoying to watch you today. Oh, cool. That's awesome. And Judy says, Cal, I confess I haven't tried day collage before. Are you cutting with a memory of the pages underneath? No. I always, when I first started day collage, I thought that would be how it worked. But I found that if I glued down several pages, like 10 minutes later, I couldn't remember what was under there. Or I might remember one thing, but I don't remember all the other things I put in. Now, one thing you can do, and that I will do sometimes, is I can look at the edge, right? Like over here, if I sort of peel this back, I can see, oh, okay, there's something there. Oh, there's definitely something orange down there. That might be useful. But if there's something sort of buried in the center, I don't usually remember it until I happen across it by cutting or tearing down to it. And that is actually the reason I enjoy it, because I'm a control freak. Otherwise, I can make things that are too controlled, too contrived, too precise. And this keeps giving me surprises and makes me respond in interesting ways. And I find that is what's so seductive about it. So I have ways that I can control it to a certain extent, but not in every extent. And that is what I love about it. And Mia says, awesome, Valerie. And I'm just seeing what she's responding to. To the finished a collage, not lost and found, but like it. Yeah, awesome. Annie says, I caught up on 2 Febrilages. Awesome, Annie. Well done. And Nellie joined us. Hey, Nellie. Just at the end, she says, so glad to be with you again. It's great. Nellie says, there's something wrong with the sound, or is it just my iPad? Are you guys hearing me okay? I am just using the microphone on my laptop. And so maybe when I turn away and work over here, because my laptop's over there, it probably means the sound quality isn't perfect. So I apologize if that's the case. Is everyone else hearing me all right? Hope so. Okay, Irina says she hears me fine. That's good. Thank you for letting me know, because sometimes I can just be going on and on and on, and there's a technical problem, and I don't, because I'm absorbed in working, I don't notice. So it's good to have people to be able to check. So we're almost at the end. I'm going to do just a few more cuts, but if you have to leave right at the dot at 4:30, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna stay for another couple of minutes just cause I want to do just a few more, remove a few more pieces. Sometimes I don't cut quite all the way through, and then that's sometimes the little tears and so on are what make it more interesting. The longer I go with decollage, I notice that I get more and more intricate. And so I think I may have to at some point go back and be a little more cursory, like do a little more tearing again, because sometimes you get too fussy. I think I may be in danger of that a little bit here. And that's partially my nature, is sort of, I like doing persnickety things. So I guess there's a balance to be struck too there between more energetic, sort of ripped things that have that feel a little rude but exciting, and then the more careful, careful cuts. I'll have to think about that a little bit. Definitely got more, definitely more cutting than tearing going on with this one, though. Just thinking about which which rock to take out. And it's that case of like, in this case, definitely Lost and Found also applies to this. Like, I like revealing some of her, but I don't want to reveal all of her. So I'm looking at, there are two big pieces that I was thinking about taking out, and like both of them will reveal a lot more of her, unless I go to another layer, in which case that might still work. But then other pieces like over here may not reveal enough of her. So, but maybe they'll sort of articulate her edge. So I think I'm going to go with that. I don't know where her arm is, like whether she's holding it out or by her side. So there's only one way to find out. That is kind of fun because I've got a little bit of her showing, but this rock obscures her, so she's both defined and obscured, which is good. I will definitely remove some of this more obvious stuff in her, but that's nice because it just shows just a little bit. And these things I'm saying are only sort of based on what I've been learning as I've done these. Like, I didn't have those same insights when I first started doing day collages because I didn't know what I was doing as much. Yeah. Anyway, I should probably stop now because we're going past time, but I'm just going to switch the camera over to sign off. And there we go. And Kim said I should let her know when I was about to sign off in case she wanted to come and say hi. So I'll just send her a little text. And she can join us if she wants to say hi. And what have you guys been saying? Annie says, thank you, Cal. It was fun as always. Can't wait to see your finished piece. You and me both, Annie. I have so many pieces that have got started and so few that are, but I do have a bunch that are finished too. So, and Mia says, making collages connects me to my right brain. Exactly. And gives my left brain a break. You're absolutely right. It's very healing, as you explained. So, well, I don't know about eloquently, Mia, but thank you. What broke my art making paralysis? That's awesome. Yeah, because we can get hung up about that, can't we? And it's always better to be making. She says, was finally getting it through my thick left brain that I do not have to be an artist to collage. And you may be an artist. But look who we have.
Hi, everybody.
I'm just reading some of the final comments.
It's true, you don't have to be an artist to collage. Remember, art is a verb, and it's a human capacity.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. I think
along with music and movement and all the other things.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I hope you had a great day.
Oh yes, we did.
Oh, that looks fun.
Doing some lost and found decollaging and yeah, and lots of our friends here. Mia says, love you, Cal and friends. Must run now to make dinner. Yep. Good luck. Hope to be back next time. It'd be great to have you back. Val says, thanks as always. Good to work, have this time and watch you work. And it's great to have you working alongside me, Val. Thank you. Yeah.
By the way, get on the Facebook group and look at what Val's been posting.
Oh,
awesome February stuff.
Oh, cool. I will definitely check it. I've been so swamped. I haven't been there much, but I will go today.
I've been there pretty regularly. So.
Thank you. Yeah, keeping the home fires burning. Thank you, my love. Kathleen says, thanks, Cal. That was really interesting to watch. I'm glad, Kathleen. Thank you. Philippa says, thanks a lot. Always love watching you work and listening to the chat. Thank you, Philippa, for joining us. Judy, thank you, Cal. Wonderful for learning about decollage. Inspirational. I'm glad, Judy. Thank you for and guys, definitely post your stuff in our virtual collage jam.
Please do.
Yeah. You're welcome, Jane. It's always fun. And Brian says hi, Kim.
Hi, Brian.
and Peggy Budd and Judy and
Peggy
Mia
and Judy.
Yeah, I'll say hi to you because
Mia,
and
lovely.
Brian and Mia say goodbye. So thank you so much, guys. It's been lovely. I will just check the calendar before I leave to tell you when our next one is, which is on March 11th, and the theme is March Hare.
Oh, perfect.
So I will see you March Herring then. And maybe before then, virtually on our Virtual Collage Jam Facebook page. So keep collaging, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.